I'd like to call this August regular Quorum Court meeting to order, and I'd like to welcome everyone in attendance. I've got a couple that's going to be out, J.P. Ball and Mr. Bowman and Joe Patterson. They're not going to be here tonight. I thought Lisa was going to go get a baby, but evidently she hadn't got there yet. Anyway, I just want to say how much I appreciate you all being here. I know there's a lot of interest in what's taking place tonight. And so I apologize for not having enough seats for everyone, but it sure is nice to see this much interest. Thank you all very much. Our prayer and our pledge will be handled by J.P. Bill Usry. J.P. Usry.
Dear Lord, we are grateful for all you've blessed us with. We thank you for the opportunity we have tonight. Lord, we ask that you give us wisdom and that you help it to be peaceful. Help all of us to be listeners and learners this evening, Lord. And help us all to do the best we can for the county that you have blessed us to live in. And we thank you for that. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, J.P. Usry. Next thing we have is a roll call. Carly, would you call the roll, please?
Daniel Balls, Harvey Bowman, Rick Cochran, here. Robert Dennis,
Here.
Lisa Ecke, here. Ann Harbison, here. Sharon Lloyd, here. Tom Lundstrom,
Here.
Eva Madison, here. Sue Madison, yes. Joe Maxwell,
Here.
Gary McHenry,
Here.
Joe Patterson, Butch Pond,
Here.
Bill Usry.
Here.
Quorum present. The next thing you have before you is the adoption of the agenda. Do I have a motion to adopt the agenda?
So moved.
Second. Have a motion and a second. All in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign. Approval of minutes. The minutes you have in front of you will be minutes from July the 7th and the 28th special Quorum Court meetings, as well as the July the 21st regular Quorum Court meeting that has been distributed. Are there any corrections to be made?
Judge, I read the first two. I did not read the last one. So I approve the first two. If anybody else would like to approve the others, it's...
I have a motion to approve the first two. Do I have a motion to approve the third one? Do I have a second for each one of those?
Judge,
Pardon?
two motions. Approve the
I think
first
you have to take them in the order
Okay.
that you heard them in, Judge.
That's okay. Let's do J.P. Ecke's first, 1 and 2. I have a motion, and who did the second on that? Okay, I have a motion, a second on the first one. All in favor of this, say aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign. Now, let me back up and let's do the number 3 and,
Pass the third set of.
okay, and who, did I get a second?
Second.
Okay, I have a motion and a second. All in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign. Okay. Carly, did you get the abstains? Okay. The next thing we have before us is an update from our treasurer, Bobby Hill.
Good evening, everybody. I've been warned repeatedly to be brief, so we'll just get right to it. Does everybody have a copy of the projections? I hope so. But anyway, this is August, a full month before I usually bring these out, so just my obligatory word of caution that these numbers can and will change. Let's see. I expect, well, this year we've seen good growth rates in sales tax and property taxes, and I see that continuing into 2017, and you'll notice when you look at the numbers that I have increased those. If you'll Page 4.3, 4.4, and 4.5 is just overview
Judge, item 6 is the preliminary revenue projections. Item 10 is the treasurer's, or excuse me, 11 is the control, 10 is the treasurer's report. I think we're out of order here, out of sequence.
This is the revenue report. That's what I'm doing anyway.
Revenue projections. Is this not the revenue projections?
Well, it's part of this.
Okay.
Yes.
All right, thank you.
You're welcome. Just real quickly, 4.8, I'd like to explain something on this spreadsheet for the general fund. Down at the bottom, you'll see a new revenue, projected revenue. All that is deducting the carryover, so you'll know if we're increasing on the actual new revenue coming in. And we are. I've got about 400,000 in the general fund increase over last year's projected new revenue. And is everybody on the right page? All right. All right. And notice it says escheated estates, possible July 2017. That is money that will go to the general fund if nobody comes forward to claim this money. And that was a court case dated back to 2012. And so it will escheat to the county July 2017, county general, if no one claims it. And now, real quickly, to this one I handed out, the preliminary revenues. Similar to last year's, you got the projected carryover, the new revenue, and what I'll hold back, and then you see available to budget. As of right now, that's what we have available to budget for 2017. And the budgets have been left blank, of course, but on the far right over there, I put in the 2016 budget just so you would have a comparison guideline. So like if you wanted the general budget to be 30 million this year, you could plug that in and you would have 5.9 million in reserve. And that's just an example. J.P. Madison, you're perplexed. On the first line, county general, available budget 35 million. And I was just, as an example, I was saying if you wanted the budget to be 30 million for 2017, you would have 5.9 million in reserves. Just an example. And you can go by that this year's budget over there just to add or take away from however you see fit. But anyway, this is a lot to take in. It's been a lot to do. So I'll give y'all several days or whatever. If y'all need to ask me a question, don't hesitate to call me. Come by and see me, and I'll go through them. If you have a question now.
I have two questions. On the road fund, you're predicting 2.2 million in carryover, so that number's pretty high. And then what I wanted to know is, you've got the road half-cent sales tax, and this is on 4.3 that I'm looking at, so back to the regular size papers. You've got the road half-cent sales tax broken out separately from sales tax revenue of 1.6 million. What's the source of the sales tax revenue?
That's the 1 cent tax that is shared with general.
Okay, so that's general purpose revenue.
Well, y'all split it up last year, 77%, 23%.
Well, that's what I'm trying to figure out, what the percentage is of that.
I left it the same, 77, 23.
Okay, so what we voted on, not the 40%. We didn't revert to that.
No.
Okay.
That's the 23%.
Okay, and then my next question is that it's in the jail fund. So I think it'll go now to where's jail?
4.4, I think.
Yeah, I looked at it on my phone. Yeah, okay, so 4.4 at the top right-hand corner. So I was curious, in the prisoner care state, the 7802 line,
Yes.
is that basically what the state reimburses us to house their prisoners?
Yes.
Okay, that's not anything else to be confused with it.
No, it's all state money for care of prisoners.
Okay, because what I was curious about is, and I don't know if the sheriff is back there somewhere.
I think he wasn't going to be here tonight.
Okay. Because my understanding is it's probably costing us double that.
I'm not sure of the breakdown, but yes,
Okay.
it's more expensive to house them than what they give us.
Well, because it's pretty notable to me that if we're predicting 2.2 million in state revenue and the cost exceeds 4 million to us, that the state is giving us the short end of the stick, and when they're sitting on a $177 million budget surplus and talking about tax cuts, I think maybe they need to start paying attention
I
to their
agree.
own obligations to the counties first. Anyway, okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Any other questions or comments for Bobby? See you explain yourself better.
I doubt that, but I'm available anytime. Come see me.
That's fine. I can. First, I'll have Attorney Zager read the ordinance.
A resolution recommending changes to the county's employee, and by the way, this is the alternate version. A resolution recommending changes to the county's employee health insurance plan for 2017. Whereas the county has a self-funded health insurance plan offered to employees and their families, and whereas in order to keep the insurance fund solvent, the county's insurance consultant, Nelson Driver, reviews the fund and makes recommendations regarding such. And whereas, due to the increasing cost of health care and the number of insurance claims, it is the recommendation of the insurance consultant that changes be made in the employee health plan for 2017. And whereas, while ordinarily amendments to the the insurance plan are an administrative function of the county judge, she has asked for a recommendation from the Quorum Court regarding such. Now therefore be it resolved by the Quorum Court of Washington County, Arkansas. Article 1, that the Quorum Court recommends to the county judge that the employee health insurance plan for year 2017 be changed as follows. 1, that the current deductible of $345 per calendar year be raised to $500 for individuals and $1,000 for families. 2, that the current prescription copay amounts be increased from $10, $30, and $55 to $15, $35, and $60. 3, that the in-network out-of-pocket threshold for individuals and families be raised from $1,000 to $3,000. 4, that the 3-month carryover provision, wherein the last 3 months of the year does not carry over into the next year's deductible, be eliminated. 5, that the primary care physician copay amount be raised from the current $25 to $30. Employee and dependents on the county's insurance will continue to have the option to go to I Am Well and or UAMS for express health care with no copay required. 6, that premiums paid by the employee shall remain the same. 7, that the county contribution be raised from $411 to $466 per month per position. Therefore, the retiree's premium shall be raised accordingly.
Thank you, Attorney Zager. This is different than what our insurance consultant did bring to us in the past. 7.1 is the original presentation and his recommendation. I would ask the judge to bring us our experts that have created the change in 7.4 so we can understand what and why we're changing from what we discussed.
The resolution that was brought before this alternate resolution that is on the table tonight is in response to the interjection of the county elected officials in their meeting to try to do something to hold down the cost transfer to the employees. 7.1 is the original proposal that I brought to you at the last Quorum Court meeting, and I believe that recommendation was still on the board as far as I understood, and that 7.4 was an alternate to that.
I've been studying a lot of benefits issues over the past week or so, and I'm definitely not a benefits expert, but I kind of want to make sure that before we talk about raising anything, that we've explored all the options to do sort of more unique things within our existing framework. So I've got kind of some specific questions that I hope you can help me with, and I hope everybody understands what I'm talking about. with respect to our drug list, because I know we were looking at increasing the co-pays for our drug list, and that's still on the alternative proposal. Do we use cost-based or impact-based drug lists? Do you know?
Eva, I don't know. I think
Okay.
it's cost-based.
Okay, because my understanding is like, say like a blood pressure medication that would prevent a heart attack. You want somebody to take that.
Yes.
You'd rather pay for the heart medicine than the heart attack.
Yes.
And so by making the lowest tier, it would encourage an employee to stay on that medication. And so there's a new trend that you do the impact-based cost, impact-based
One of the
list.
things that we're looking at in following Blue Cross Blue Shield's guidelines, which we have done for the last 20-plus years, following their formulary guidelines. And the actual impact of these costs is driven by generic versus non-preferred.
So then it's cost-based.
It is
Okay,
cost-based.
okay.
But the thing that we're trying to get and trying to drive toward generic utilization, we have achieved about 90% of our prescription drug utilization is generic.
Okay,
We are, I guess, the trendsetter statewide as far as any of our peer organizations as far as generic utilization is concerned.
but you don't know if anything that Blue Cross does with their lists sort of assesses the impact rather than cost? Because what I'm saying is the heart medication may be very expensive. And
Yes.
so in a cost-based tier, it may cost $60.
Yes.
Which if I'm deciding whether to pay $60 or buy groceries, I might say, yeah, forget the heart
Yes.
medicine and then have a heart attack.
Well, one of the things that we're trying to get everybody to do, and this is nationwide, not just within our group, is to get people to, number one, question their physicians, which we're all hesitant to do. If I go to my primary care physician and he says, well, I'm going to put you on this medication, I'm going to go, what are my alternatives? Is there a generic equivalent to that?
I'm not sure many of us are going to stand up to her. I mean,
Well, you better
doctors'
start.
personalities are a little bit interesting. Well,
Yeah.
okay, so.
Well, you need to start, because that's one of the things that we look at in prescription drug utilization. The county paid out almost $900,000 in prescription drug costs last year,
Okay.
and that trend's not going down.
Well, I've got more questions, so let
Sure.
me keep going. Do we use any type of mail order in that process?
We do not at this point, no.
Okay. So we wouldn't like require it for any type of maintained drugs? Okay. I know that there's been a lot of talk about comparison of county pay rates to Benton County and other places. Have we done any benchmarking on the benefits of comparable, like the city of Fayetteville, the city of Springdale, like what the sheriff gave us for pay rates for people who work in law enforcement? Have we done any type of benchmarking to see how our benefits compare?
We have done benchmarking with our peer group, which would be, our surrounding larger counties in the state, which would
Okay.
include Benton County, Sebastian County, Pulaski County, and Washington County, as well as the cities of Fayetteville, Springdale, and Rogers and Bentonville.
Okay, how do
And
we,
we're about middle of the road.
middle of the road?
We
Okay.
used to be what we considered the Cadillac plan in northwest Arkansas. We had about the best benefits program out there, but because of the changes that have come through the Affordable Care Act and some of the changes made to other existing plans, we're about middle of the road. We're not the
Okay.
top tier plan in the marketplace any longer.
Okay. Have we done any type of consideration of having tiered rates for premiums based on income level?
No.
Okay. Do we offer any kind of tobacco discounts? I know we've talked about wellness programs, but I think some plans specifically just have discounts for people who are tobacco-free.
We do not do that at this point. That will come with the wellness program if the court passes the wellness program for 2017.
Okay. Do we take any kind of information on those who have secondary coverage? Do we gather that information at all?
We are required to gather that for Blue Cross Blue
Okay.
Shield, just so they can do coordination of benefits. It is not, obviously, we still have to make an offer under Affordable Care Act to all of our employees, but we do know if the employee themselves has a secondary coverage.
Do we have
or-
any idea of those statistics?
I do not.
Okay.
no. I can look them up.
Well, and the reason I'm
have
asking is because I know one of the issues has been there's people who just have employee coverage which we want to be the most affordable, and then there's the people who add on spouses and family members, and that's where we're looking at increasing things. And I know that when I fill out my benefits, my husband is self-employed, he doesn't have benefits, so he's on me. But I always have to say whether he has coverage or not, or the option to get coverage. And, you know, not that I want people to discourage people from being on our plan, but we are, I think, in the overall health insurance market, not necessarily our peers in terms of government employers, we offer generous benefits with relatively low costs. It's been one of the good things about our plan. But if I'm looking at it saying, well, do I put my spouse on the county's plan or do I put them on, you know, the Walmart plan? The county plan may be more attractive, but really we'd rather them go and be with their employer. And so I know some companies will charge a premium addition for
Yes.
you to put that spouse or family member that has other benefits available to them on our plan. Do we do anything like that?
We are not doing that at present. That is always an option to explore. I know some of the companies in Northwest Arkansas, as well as some of the municipal government entities, are starting to do a spousal surcharge.
Okay. And then from my research, I think the market is shifting more toward consumer-directed plans, which is in line with what you're saying about quizzing your doctor, where there's maybe it doesn't cost as much, but there's a little bit more deductible. Not saying that's what we're going to do, but it does give you a little bit more skin in the game, right? Because and it helps control costs a little bit better. Have we looked at trying to transition to any type of hybrid plan to sort of have options at least?
One of the things that we're looking at is it's not necessarily a hybrid plan, but we are exploring and taking RFPs in September for high deductible HSA plans.
Okay, that's
That
good.
would be in the intrigue behind that would be a bare bones plan.
Right.
Bare
That's what I
bones
have.
meaning what is required by ACA.
Right, okay. And then my last question is do we take any kind of data, or do we have any kind of incentives, and maybe this is part of the wellness program you anticipate, but to encourage preventative visits, to say that, you know, there's some kind of benefit to you if you get an annual physical where we detect that heart attack and save ourselves the cost of you having
We
one.
already offer physicals.
Right, but I guess, do we track how many of our employees are, is there any incentive to do that?
At this point, not that
Okay.
I'm aware of.
Okay. And then my last question is have we considered any kind of group Medicare plan for retirees where we coordinate the supplemental with existing Medicare?
That's one of the things we've been talking about doing in exploring and having had conversations with Humana and also with representatives from Blue Cross.
Okay.
We're looking at a standpoint of those retirees that are Medicare eligible, and we have several that are not. We've got several that retired at a fairly young age. It would actually be more cost-effective for them to get a Medicare supplement plan than to stay on the county's insurance. It'd be more cost-effective to them.
Well, I'll say this. I feel like just my little bit of research has told me that there's a lot of options out there that I think are ways to generate funds without dishing it out to everybody. I think that everybody, the reaction we've gotten from the employees is surprise at all of these coming at once, and I wish we'd done them more gradually with better notice. So I'm really on the fence about passing these tonight or making any kind of recommendation tonight, because I feel like there's other things that I wish we could explore. For instance, one of the things I thought about, and this is not a health insurance benefit, but my employer offers it's like the health savings plan for childcare costs, and it saves me a considerable amount in tax dollars every year. And I think, why don't we do that? We used to, okay. But I think, the people that are trying to make ends meet, to be able to have your child care costs up to $5,000 a year tax-free, that's huge. And so why can't we look at enriching all of our benefits to try to make this impact not so serious? So I feel like we should be asking more questions and looking at more options to make sure that what we're doing is the right thing for our employees. I'd be happy to visit with any of you about some of my research if you didn't understand it, because I just think there's a lot of options out there, and I want to do what's right for the employees. Thank you, Judge.
Just if I could respond to that, for the last 16 years, virtually every year, I've come back to this court and said we need to do adjustments as far as premiums. And virtually every year, that's come with a Band-Aid, what I consider a Band-Aid approach. We've infused money on numerous occasions into the fund. And that was basically to keep the cost increase off the backs of the employees. And I would have to say I have to applaud the court for doing that. I know on at least 2 separate occasions, the circuit clerk's office, what I would consider bailed out the fund, with a very substantial infusion. So these are things that we look at every year.
I hope we can do something substantial. My first question, though, that I've written down here is the $900,000 that we've spent this year on drugs. And you say most of these have been generic? And we have still spent $900,000?
Yes, ma'am.
We only have 610 employees and their families. So, that...
You have approximately 1,005 to 1,010 lives with our health program.
Okay, so, and my next question has to do with a proposal that was presented tonight. Actually, it was presented by email earlier in the week, so, it's not a complete surprise. Does this meet the $820,000 that we need to put into the plan to make it stable?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
With that increased funding level on the court's side to the per position, the 614 budgeted positions, that would meet the criteria of plugging the hole in the fund, yes.
Okay, and I now, on number 3 on Article 1, I know that was $6,000, and that's been reduced to $3,000. Can you, and this is in network, so if someone has, explain that to me, what that means.
The $3,000?
Yeah.
That's your annual stop loss. That's where your out-of-pocket cost ceases. You pay your deductible, then you pay your 20% copay. The county's portion pays 80% up to that stop-loss figure. And
then they pay 100%.
We pay 100% after that. Yes.
After that?
Yes.
Oh, okay, that makes more sense. Okay.
That's just a restriction on the family's total overall annual out-of-pocket cost.
So, I was looking at that as a $6,000, that they would have to come up with $6,000 or $3,000. Okay, right. No, that makes sense.
Right.
And I think, you've worked, I still think we need to tweak this a little bit more, but I really like this second proposal a lot better than the first. Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Judge. Mr. Driver, earlier I asked you if, or what would be the county's cost to absorb all of this increase that wasn't passed on to the employees, and you said it was $112.
That is the premium increase.
Premium
cost.
increase
That does not include the changes in the levels of the copays. That's just premium increase.
That will not affect that at all.
No.
So, but just to kind of put this in context, just for the premiums, it's $112 times 614 employees.
Yes, per month.
Per month, that would be $68,768 per month. For the year, it would be $825,000.
That is correct.
If the county were to absorb the premium costs.
That's where that $820,000.
I guess what I want to just think about and consider, and I want the employees to understand that, in trying to come up with that money and looking at the budget and seeing where we could or couldn't, how beneficial would that be to them? Trying to find a workable plan. And so for all of y'all that are out there, if the county could cover the premium increase, then how much would it cost them on top of that? I mean, with that.
Well, it would depend on their utilization.
Okay.
That would affect, what their co-pays change would be. If you've got someone that consistently goes to, to primary care physician on a very, very consistent basis, that cost would go up $5 every time they go.
But if they were willing to use the wellness, the IM well,
Then there is no
or-
copay.
There's no copay.
IMWell or UAMS,
Or
as far as
UAMS.
Express Care, there is no copay.
Okay. And I guess that's some feedback that I guess I'd like to know on how willing are the county employees to use that where there's no cost to them as opposed to going to their physician. I mean, I really want to know because this involves them and their families. And if I'm going to make the decision, I want to know what they think, what you all think. And unless you tell me, how am I supposed to know?
That's not a question that I can answer, but I can tell you that our agreements, our arrangements with IMWell and UAMS, in order for us to be able to afford to waive that copay, they have discounted their charges to us by 15%. They charge us 15% below what Blue Cross Blue Shield pays us.
Okay.
Or charges us when we have a doctor's office visit with the primary care physician. I think it needs to be stressed that neither of these entities, neither UAMS or IMWell, are trying to move you from your primary care doctor, because that's a relationship type
Certainly.
situation. And that's not what they're all about. They're about to get you in, get you seen if you've got the sniffles before it turns into a full-blown case of something else that might require an ER visit or hospitalization. There's two reasons for that. Number one, it can get you treatment immediately to ward off, anything like post-secondary infections or anything that can come
Bronchitis,
along with that,
pneumonia,
bronchitis or
right.
whatever. And, while at the same time, it does drastically or can drastically affect the county's productivity rate, because we can get you to the doctor and get you back to work.
Okay.
And you're not off for a week to 10 days because something that's had to go untreated because it was a decision whether you bought a loaf of bread or whether you went to see the doctor.
Now, there was some comments that we received on the IMWell, and they were pretty much positive. There was some that said, I want to stress that they don't accept walk-ins. You still have to make an appointment
Yes.
if you want to be seen. I think if we were to clarify those kind of issues, it would make it a lot easier, because they weren't able to go back to work like they thought they could just walk in, get seen, and go back to work, and it cost them the whole day
Yeah.
to go in.
They strive. They can't guarantee it, but they strive. Both entities, both UAMS and IMWell, strive to get same-day appointments,
Okay,
or within 24 hours at the very latest.
okay,
But you do need to call and say, I need to come in.
okay,
And they do everything they can to get you in just as rapidly as possible.
okay.
But at present, they do not do walk-in.
But this is just really going to be a burden and a hardship to so many of our employees. And that is what I'm hearing from a lot of them. And the last thing that we want to do is to put this burden and that stress on them. And so if we can come up with creative ways to pay for the premium, maybe all of us working together, all funds and whatnot, we can do that. But I would like to hear some more information from the employees themselves. I've heard that loud and clear, it's a stress on you and your families. You don't know how you're going to do this if there's a rate increase, premium increase. It was brought to my attention that there's 100 of our county employees that are on government assistant programs of some kind. That was the first that I've ever heard of that. It's sad, because I think and I know that I'm all for pulling together and let's helping each other, but there's strength in unity and strength in numbers. But you've got to let us know, how can we best help you? And do it in a nice way, a positive way. We don't have to be upset with one another, because I don't want to feel like I'm making decisions for you and your wife and your husband and your children, and then you have to suffer for it. That's not what any of us want to do. And so I thank you, Madam Judge.
Thank you, Judge. Nelson, a question for you. You spoke to where we stood as far as ranking within our peer groups for the program and where we were and where we are now. These two projections that we have before us, your original projection and the revised one, where would they rank? Where would they rank in there? And I guess your criteria is both the benefits and the dollar cost, premium cost? Okay.
Proposal 7.1, I believe, was the original with the $1,000 deductible. Proposal 7.1 is going to put us right in the mix with industry and with most of our peer organizations around that we compare with.
Okay.
And there's 5 or 6 of those that we compare with. Okay. Those deductible changes and copay changes that you see in 7.1 are pretty much the norm now in the marketplace. Actually, the $1,000 deductible is significantly lower than
It's lower than mine.
Yeah, a lot of the others. I know it's lower than the one that I have at the university, but it puts us right there in the mix with the peer group.
Okay.
The 7.4 proposal that you have before you with the $500 deductible and the increase in funding by the Quorum Court would move the county's benefits program closer to the top as far as comparatives are concerned with our I hate to use the word competition, but with our peer group.
Oh,
The thing that we get into here and I understand this, with the public assistance part of this. I know we've got a lot of employees that are on public assistance. You've got single parents with lots of dependents and stuff, and it's a strain. But that's where you would be with both of these, I think.
Okay, so both are good choices for the county employees?
Yes.
Is basically what we're saying, with 7.4 possibly leaning towards those at the lower of the socioeconomic spectrum?
Yes, definitely.
Okay. A little history. I've spoken about this insurance program for ongoing the last 3 years. When the ACA came out, we pretty much got locked in, and we couldn't do much. And we did have one opportunity to make a change a couple of years ago, and we did that change up to the maximum, and that's all we've been able to do. So for the last 3 years, we've really been locked in, and now with 2017 law, we have to make a change. So this isn't debatable. This is what we have to do, as I understand it. Am I correct?
One of the things that I guess, for lack of repeating myself, the problem we get into with healthcare is that the Affordable Care Act, I think the name is extremely misleading because there's nothing affordable about it. The Affordable Care Act has not slowed the cost of healthcare delivery down. We're still seeing double-digit increases in the cost of prescription drug programs, everything from surgical procedures, hospitalizations, ER visits, everything is still continuing to escalate in double digits. And we're not able to keep up. We have not been able to keep up, and I'm not sure that we can. The problem is the fiduciary responsibility that we've got to keep this or any plan solvent for the county and the employees and dependents, and that is a tough task. You get into a situation in dealing with benefit programs where the federal government, fortunately or unfortunately, depending on which way you want to look at it, has taken the choice out of the hands of employers anymore. We have to provide access to health care, as I personally feel we should. But you've got a critical balance point there between affordability and what you can put out there to satisfy the needs of your employment group. And that's a very, very tough critical balance point to strike sometimes.
Right. Well, as I compare in my mind 7.1 and 7.4, the cost of the county is essentially the same. The big difference is increasing premiums for those that are in a family or employee and dependent. With so many people being in the situation of having to make a decision on what can I afford today, I guess in a way I have to lean towards 7.4, but I look to the future for the employee on his or her retirement. And when we come over to 7.4 and prop it up in a different fashion, it limits our ability to bring their salaries up as much as we'd like to. And the salary level is what they base their Social Security retirement and their employee benefit for retirement through the plan. So I'm really struggling with this, to make the right decision, because somebody that's within a few years of retirement, either one's going to be fine. But those that are going to be here with us for 20 and 25 years that may already have 5 or 10 in, when you look at a dollar, if I make $1 an hour now and I get a percentage raise, and next year I get another percentage raise, that percentage compounding is better if the money comes to me first before I pay my health insurance premium. If we were to go with 7.1, I firmly believe that we would have to take a harder look at the size of increase that we want to do for our salary increase for the year to help offset the difference. It does take care of the imbalance between the dependent costs that we're incurring and the employee costs that we're incurring. So from what you call the fiduciary standpoint, I like 7.1. But without a substantial change for salaries, 7.1 is a disaster for several people, as they've let me know, and I don't want to do that. So, not knowing what this court is going to do on a salary increase, I'm really in an impasse in my mind as which one is the better one to go. They do tend to go hand in glove with each other because it is a benefit that comes out of your pocket one way or the other. It's hard to choose.
One comment I would make on that, Rick, is that, from a salary increase standpoint, and I've said this, over the years as well, you and I've had this discussion many times.
Yes, sir.
The salary increase is very, very critical to the employees because it does affect their Social Security. It does affect APRS. There's so many different things that increase does affect, and if it's not there, right, then they suffer for that 30, 40 years from now, not necessarily today.
They don't feel it today, but
Yeah.
down the road, all of a sudden, it's like, how come my retirement's not what I was hoping it would be? I've received comments from individuals directly that one said that basically with his plan and the 4% raise that was proposed here at the last meeting that's been tabled, he would net out, he did the figures, I didn't check them, but he said I'll be $1.15 short per paycheck, so insurance increase for him in that particular instance just wipes him out. And given that this year we were only able to do the bonuses, that's effectively 3 years without any kind of an increase, and that's hard to do in this day and age. I'll keep all that in consideration. I appreciate your comments and your hard work on this. Thank you, Nelson. Thank you, Judge.
And Nelson, I appreciate your work on this too. I sit here and tend to agree with Justin Madison on several of the comments she made. But one of my problems with this is the difference in the premium cost from a employee only and the married. We talked about it a little earlier. $74.56 a month is an extremely inexpensive health care program. I mean, I don't have an employee working our family company that's even close to that.
Yes.
Everybody's paying $300 or $400 or $500 a month for health insurance. I don't know what the numbers are, those people compared to the others. But what would it look like if the employee only paid $85 a month instead of $74 to these other numbers? And I realize that a man with a wife and 3 or 4 kids, the insurance is going to be higher wherever he's at than a single person. And that's a lifestyle choice. One chose to get married and have kids, the other chose not to.
And it's kind of hard to ask the guy that chose not to help pay the other guy's bill. But there's a huge discrepancy there between this guy sits there and doesn't get any increase at all, and the other guy down here gets a $200 or $300 a month increase, and they're both making the same money. I'm talking about in terms of the impact on their income. The county is still sitting there at $411. Well, there's a big difference between $411 and $74 too. This is a good insurance program. I was just talking to my son yesterday, as a matter of fact. The deductible with our company insurance right now is $7,600. And we're talking about $1,000. I don't know what some of you folks that are still working for a living are having to look at, but that's not all that unusual either. Sharon Lloyd was telling the judge and I a while ago that hers is like $8,500. So these numbers are not unusual. Mm-hmm. And when you look at this situation, you have to question, should I have voted for that health care program to start with? Because now it's there, mm-hmm. and we're all living with it. You know, it was going to reduce our costs and all this, and it's doing just the opposite. So could you take a look at those numbers and see what difference it would make to increase that employee-only number? And I know it's not going to make me popular with the employees only.
I'd have to rerun the numbers, you know, up and down to see where the balance point is. But one of the things, the basic premise of insurance, regardless of what type of insurance it is, whether it's your automobile insurance or health insurance, is insurance is a subsidization program. We do subsidize each other's losses. This is a pooling effect, right, yeah, that we have, and we all pay into that pool. And if Joel gets sick and has to pull money out, part of that's yours, part of it's mine, right, et cetera. The most prominent form of equalization across the board as far as premiums are concerned is to go where the claims are. And that's where the impact is most likely to occur. And that's why you're seeing such a dramatic increase in the family coverage versus the employee spouse or employee child.
But this guy making, paying $74 could have a $300,000 claim too.
Yes, absolutely.
And the guy paying $350 a month is going to help pay that.
Yes.
So it's all, what I'm looking for is just something that seems a little more equitable. Okay. In other words, maybe the county even pay $425 or something instead of $411 to bring these other three numbers down to where some kind of reasonable pay increase would at least cover it where they're not suffering. So, but I would like, I'm
Thank you, Madam Judge. Mr. Driver, I'm concerned that we're doing wrong. Let me start over. Here it's still. I'm worried that we're not doing enough to encourage wellness in the county. If you can't hear me, I'll abandon the mic.
Got you.
No, I got well. All right, I think we should be doing more to encourage wellness. And let me first ask about the I Am Well and the UAMS clinics that are available. Do they do any preventive kind of medicine? Can you go there for a checkup? Can you go there for vision screens? With no copay to the...
Presently, not for vision.
Not for vision?
No.
But for an overall annual physical, you can go there? Do they do
We
lab?
have not used them for either one of the providers for annual physicals at this point, but I don't see any issue with that. I'd be happy to check with both of these providers for routine annual physical examinations, typically, we pay for those, and that goes, with the health program.
So we've got a contract, in a sense, with I Am Well and UAMS
Yes.
for a discount, but yet,
That's-
for all
that's
of our
based on
preventive health care, employees are going to their private provider.
Yes, ma'am.
Oh,
No, they're not.
No, I Am Well and UAMS does primarily preventative medicine.
Mhm.
They do treat colds and flu and sniffles, but Dr. Womack, that originally brought the case with I Am Well to Washington County, did it because she was an internal medicine specialist, and her goal was to deal with preventative health care. We have a number of employees that is who they utilize to manage their chronic diseases, to have annual checkups. They provide all of that on site.
okay, so we are using them for, but they don't do vision.
No.
Okay. If an employee has some kind of chronic condition or device that requires some kind of oversight, like a pacemaker or diabetes, can they handle those routine checkups at I Am Well or UAMS?
I don't really know that they can get into the cardiology part of that. They do some.
I would hope
But-
UAMS could.
Well, yeah, with UAMS is a different ballgame, but that's, when you start talking about cardiac care, that's more of a specialist.
Well, do our employees know they can go there for all the services
Yes,
that I Am
ma'am,
Well?
they have been notified.
Okay, so they know, but you don't necessarily know.
Up here. I told her a while ago I was going to get her up here.
Do they do flu shots there? If I go in for my annual checkup, they can give me a flu shot?
Yes.
Is there an extra charge for the flu shot?
No charge.
Oh, this sounds like the best deal in town. I'm concerned that we are not giving a tobacco-free discount to employees. We all know and have known for years the health risks associated with tobacco use, but yet you have tobacco-free people that, as J.P. Lundstrom talked about, one subset subsidizing another. The tobacco-free people are subsidizing extra health care costs of.
Yes.
And why have we not?
This has been a part of our initiative to try to get wellness programs put into the county for the last number of years. And the last 3 times we brought it before the court, because of the cost of implementation of the wellness program, it's been voted down.
So we can't do tobacco-free unless we have a package program?
You're going to have to do biometric screening in order to do that, is my understanding. You're going to have to do a blood test or a cheek swab or something in order to do that and to maintain it.
So we're going to swab people weekly to see if they're using tobacco?
Well, it's not usually done on a weekly basis. It's usually done on an annual basis.
Oh, people do smoke weekly.
There's screenings that I know at the university that we have to go through in order to keep our discounts.
Do we require people operating county vehicles to have an annual vision screen?
That's DOT physical.
Well, what if it's a coroner driving
That's just for CDLs.
Well, I wasn't talking about CDLs. I was talking about anybody that's driving a county vehicle.
Not to my knowledge.
Would
That's
it not
not part of
seem
my-
wise because of accident issues if vision is not what it should be, that we should have? I mean, if you fail to get a vision screen and can't see the brake lights in front of you, you're going to have an accident. Okay. The employees that are veterans, are they going to the VA and using that system?
I don't know.
Do you know if it is a better service for them than what we have, and they would automatically be in?
That is my primary care is through the VA. I'm on the university's insurance plan, but my primary care is at the Veterans Administration Hospital here in Fayetteville.
So are you confident that most of the veterans know that that's the best place to go? Okay, that's good. Okay. Well, I know that there is some concern about taking on families and spouses, but I think it's important to remember that when our children are healthy as a community, that we're all better off. When children start out healthy, when they have proper immunizations, when they have proper care that prevents lifelong issues. So I don't want us to ever feel like we're misspending money when we're helping take care of children.
Yes, ma'am.
But I'm glad you're trying to encourage people when spouse has other options to take those other options. But I really am concerned that we're not doing enough about wellness initiatives, and I'm glad Lindsay was here. Thank you, Madam Judge.
Well, we've kicked that can down the road so many times that I don't want to even remember how many times that we put a Band-Aid approach on this system. And I would, for the employees, you know, we're increasing their deductible by $155. If we left it at $1,000, that was $655. So, you know, we're making headway in. Is that not working?
It's real scratchy.
Anyway, we're going to try to do our best to provide you insurance. A 4%. Mr. Johansson has come in with his figures, and he says for us to keep up with the market value, that we need to give you a 7% increase. I want to keep your insurance down, and I also want to come as close to that 7% as we can. If we had done the 3% correctly last year, we wouldn't be looking at 7% this year. Thank you.
That's a tough act to follow. Thank you, Madam Judge. Obviously, with so many people here, this is a pretty serious issue for a lot of folks, and I think we're clear on the fact that we're making decisions that will be affecting you to some degree. We're making a decision, although if I understand it right, this resolution really has no binding power. The judge is actually the one who's going to make. Is that clear? Is that correct, Attorney Zaga? Yes. Thank you. So I guess I'm glad we're having a discussion, but I'm trying to decide how much impact our decision on the health care is actually going to have. But in that conversation, I guess I want to clarify a couple of things. One, Paul, you mentioned that when J.P. Cochran was asking you that if we move this plan to a $1,000 deductible, the 7.1, your original recommendation, you said that would put us about in the middle of the pack with our competitive peer group. Is that correct?
The 7.1 will put us right there with our peer group.
And if we went with the 7.4, that would put us closer to the top. Where do we rank currently with our 345 deductible and the current benefits that we have?
Deductible-wise, we've got the lowest deductible out there in the market.
Okay, so we're at the top of the heap there.
Yes.
Okay. So none of these choices are going to put us below midway. It's just a question of we want to stay at the very top, we want to be somewhere near the top, or we want to be on par with the rest of our. Well, I can tell you for me personally, this is, and I've done the math, I've heard from several of you, whatever. It's kind of interesting. Half of you want the insurance to stay the same and your salary to go up. I mean, to stay the same as well if you had to pick between the two. And the other half of you would like to have your salary to go up and the insurance to go up. So it's kind of hard to do a poll from the conversations I've had and come to a conclusion. But I really think in some aspects, as far as the Quorum Court's concerned, we're getting the cart before the horse a little bit. I think we'd be more well advised to be discussing salary increases, which I do think we need to move upward, and to try to catch us up to normal there. And then after we've established that and we know how much that's going to cost, then talk about what our recommendations will be for the judge about how to handle this health care. You got a comment there?
The comment that I would make here is that we're rapidly approaching open enrollment. So if any changes are going to take place by January 1, rollout on any of these things, Lindsay has got to have this information in hand to get out to the employee groups so they can start making their decisions prior to open enrollment.
I think I should probably clarify myself. I'm talking about if right now we were discussing 8.1 instead of 7.1 or 0.4, I think we might be in a better shape for actually making a wise decision about health care, because I think when I do the math, and maybe my calculator works well, I don't know, but I'd be happy to at least try to repeat that math. It looks to me like that the employees are better if they have a raise in their pocket raise helps every employee. Yes. Every employee. And secondly, it's a cumulative effect. If you get a raise this year, then you're going to get a raise on top of that raise next year, or the next raise and next raise. Every one of those are cumulative, and you're going to keep that raise and get a percentage increase over that every year from here on out. It also helps your retirement. I'm not opposed to keeping the health care as affordable as possible for you, but I think right now the way these two propositions are structured, the people with families get assistance, but anybody who's an employee only doesn't really get a lot of benefit from the way we're doing it. So with that, I think that really I'm going to abstain from any definitive action on the health care until after we've made some sort of a definitive action on salaries, and we can address that appropriately at a court level. Thank you, Madam Judge.
That one is subject out tonight. I'm going to make a motion that we table till Mr. Driver gets us some additional information to make a decision on.
Depends on whether it's indefinite or to a time certain.
It's indefinite.
So I have a motion and a second. Discussion.
Thank you, Judge. Question for Lindsay. What's your drop dead date?
Well, open enrollment kicks off November 1st, so we have to have every mechanism in place by that time because employers will be making change.
Would you have to have lead time for printing and et cetera?
I would not recommend making a change after October 1st at the very latest, because I feel like the employees need at least 30 days to make some decisions. And also, Medicare, employees that are eligible for Medicare, they kick off their open enrollment in October. So we need to have some lead time.
So really mid-September is where we need to be at the very
Ideally,
latest.
mid-September, very latest, October 1st.
All right. I would like to amend the tabling. Is that permissible?
Peter Lundstrom wants to be recognized. He wants to change his motion. So let's let him.
I'd like to amend my motion to table this until the next quorum court meeting. So that'll put it in line with your October needs, and we can take another look at it then. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Same second. Okay, I have a motion and a second to table until the next quorum court meeting.
That is not.
Bill Essing. Yes. Daniel Bowles. Harvey Bowman. Rick Cochran. Robert Dennis. Lisa Ecke. Aaron Harbison. Sharon Moore. Tom Lynchman. Eva Madison. Sue Madison. Joe Maxwell. Dan McKinney. Joe Patterson. Rich Pond.
Is that our standard time limit, Danny? Is that our standard time limit, or is this unlimited time?
I'm going to limit it to 3 minutes each, yes.
Well, I meant total.
15 minutes, okay.
Be within the, because you're suspending the rules, would have to be stated that way in the motion.
Okay, that we suspend the rules and that we spend 15 minutes with 3-minute limit per person of comments about the insurance.
So do I have a motion, and did I get a second? Okay, we have a motion and a second. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign. Okay, ayes have it. So, okay, now, I'm going to start recognizing the public and people that will have a comment they would like to make. I'm going to ask you to come to the podium, identify yourself, and you'll have 3 minutes for your comment. Give us your name.
My name is Matt Wallace. I work for the Washington County Road Department. Been here since February 1st, just moved from Texas. I would like to address Lisa's question. Not having a primary care physician, I use the I Am Well 100%, as I know a lot of the county employees do. So I consider that to be my primary care physician. Like I say, I utilize that totally. And I like that service. I wish they had walk-in service, because I was took off work one day to get there to find out they didn't take appointments, or they didn't have walk-ins, and it cost me a day. But other than that, I use the service totally.
Thank you very much for your comment. Anyone else?
And my name's Mike Bowen. I've been with the road department for almost 6 years. I use I Am Well. My whole family uses I Am Well. My wife, all 4 of my boys, everybody uses it. That's the only doctor we go to. They take care of all our prescriptions. They're helping us with the blood pressure or everything. I mean, that's our primary physician. We have never used the UMA whatever.
UAMS.
We've heard bad things about them, so we've never even gone there. I hear it's a waste of time, but I'm well. That's the doctor we go to, and usually if you'll call them, they'll get you in either that day or the first thing the next morning. I mean, they're pretty good about getting you right in to see you, and that's the only doctor we use. My whole family.
Thank you, Mike.
Thank you.
Anyone else? Go. Give us your name.
Yes, ma'am. My name is Kenny Yates, and I'm with the Sheriff's Department. The Sheriff sent me this email and asked me that I share it with the court. It's an email from one of our employees named Justin Brandon. It says, "Hey, sir, I'm not complaining to you by no means. I just thought you might like to see this email, and maybe it would help at the Quorum Court meeting tonight. I will not be able to attend, but will give you a rundown of what this email pertains to. My wife and I applied to the Department of Human Services to become foster parents and eventually be able to adopt. When we applied, they took a lot of information down, including my pay, cost of living from me. When the application was processed, they informed me that I did not qualify because my income is considered below poverty level in the state of Arkansas. I wanted to send this to you earlier, but 1, I was embarrassed to show you, and 2, did not know how this would be taken. Like I said, previously I'm not complaining or trying to make someone feel sorry for me. I wanted to share this to show what the state says about our income. Please feel free to contact me, and please do not be upset with me. I love my job, and I take pride and enjoy working for you and the staff of the Washington County Sheriff's Department. Thank you, and God bless." And he attached the email from the Department of Human Services, which very clearly says, "Good morning, Justin. Unfortunately, your total household income is below the poverty line for the state of Arkansas, and your adoption process is declined. Please feel free to reapply in the future should your circumstances change." And I know that we're talking about insurance benefits right now, and I know the pay is coming up, but the sheriff asked me to share this. Thank you.
Thank you, Candy. Appreciate you. Anyone else? William, identify yourself.
Hi, I'm William Stevenson with the Assessor's Office, and I want to thank Mr. Maxwell because he was in our office today talking to some of us. He's obviously put a lot of thought into this, and he made some really good points. And I want to applaud Ms. Madison for bringing up the idea of looking for all of these different options. Insurance is a complicated thing, and it takes a lot to wade through it, and none of us are experts. Maybe Nelson is, I think he left. But I think that is a viable option for us. The one thing that I wanted to ask is, a lot of people get confused when these emails come out because we're confusing deductible amount with what our stop loss amount is and things like that. My deductible currently is $345 because I'm single. Well, if it goes up either $500 or $1,000, I pay 100% of that deductible before insurance ever kicks in. My stop loss is based, or the out-of-pocket is based on the stop loss amount. Currently, the out-of-pocket is $1,000. It's 20. That means you pay 20% of your stop loss, which is currently $5,000. Insurance pays the other 80% of that first $5,000. You pay 20%. And now, if my out-of-pocket goes up to $3,000, that means the stop loss just increased to $15,000. That means insurance is going to pay, 80% of that $15,000, and I'll pay 20%, and that's where the $3,000 comes. And I think people get really confused about that because that first, 7.1 that came out said our out-of-pocket was $6,000. Well, that's a whole lot of out-of-pocket if you're 20% of your stop loss is $6,000. I mean, that is a ton of money. I mean, you're paying a ton of money for your insurance, and that scared a lot of people in our office when we saw that. So but the thing of it, I guess my main point was, and I said this to Nelson when he went out, I says everybody keeps confusing that with deductible and stop loss. Deductible, you pay 100%, whether it's $500 or $1,000. And then that other amount out of pocket is the 20% that you pay before you can reach a stop loss, and insurance pays the other 100% of whatever your procedure costs. I think that's all I wanted to say. But I appreciate all of y'all looking at it, but when those emails come out, they need to be clear because, trust me, we talked about this all day. I mean, all day. And the more we talked about it, the more confused we got.
Thank you, William.
Thank you.
Randall, go ahead and identify yourself. Everybody knows you, but.
My name's Randall Denzer. I work for the Washington County Sheriff's Office and for a long, long time. And, start out, the benefit package at the county was always the most attractive. Pay was never, compared to anybody else. We've always had part-time jobs to make it, to get through. But the benefit package was usually what carried us over. It was always better than everybody's. Now we're looking at pay and benefits going, I know it's hard to keep up with. First, I should have started out to thank you guys for the job you do, because you got the tough decisions. And this is really tough times. The last 2 years, we've hired over 30 people in our department. We've trained them up for 2 years. We get them certified. We do everything, and they leave us. Last week, we had an officer, about 2.5 years, that left for a small town, and we asked him why. He said they got $1 an hour raise, and they paid my insurance. What do you say, to a young family? But anyway, this is what's been happening down through the years. And if we don't change it, you can see we're almost a second-class citizen. I mean, as far as every agency is taking people from us. So that's where we're at. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Donnie?
My name's Donnie Coleman. I work at the Washington County Road Department. I've been there about 20 years. And first of all, I want to say I do not want the job that y'all have to do here, making these decisions, because it's a hard decision. And you can see there's a lot of people here tonight, and it's all about their income. And I've been at the road department for 20 years, and we've hired a lot of young guys there that have wives and kids, get them trained up, kind of like what Randall's talking about, and they can go down the street, drive a dump truck, get a $1.50 hour raise. So that insurance and the raise means a lot to these guys. And kind of like what Tom was saying earlier about the individual insurance, I've been on the individual insurance for 20 years. And the pay increase that you're talking about on these families that have kids, it won't affect me. But I'm up here talking for these guys that's got a family. We got to do something to help them, to keep them here. Because after you train a guy for a couple of years and he goes down the road, you're back to the bottom again. And you're trying to beg somebody else to come to work and start out again. But again, I wouldn't want y'all's job because it is a hard decision to make. Thank you.
Thank you, Donnie. Juliet?
I have a couple things. I think it is good that y'all are going to listen to Mr. Johansson's presentation because some of the information that was in the packet and the information that we talked about at the department head and elected official meeting last week internally was that despite what the questions you asked Mr. Driver, I don't think what Mr. Johansson's numbers show is that we are below market even with our current health care plan. It's not just, you can't just look at one piece of it, what the individual deductible is or what the individual premium is. I mean, obviously he can explain it better than me, but the end thing that I left that meeting with was that we're behind the market with our current plan. And then if you're looking at putting more on us, then we're going to be even further behind the market. And that doesn't even get into the consideration of our salaries and how far behind we are on them. So, I mean, I think you have to be careful when you're looking, you talk about specifically about a deductible or the premium cost of one person. That's just one piece of the plan. And when you ask a question like that and compare it to a piece of your own plan, then that may not be indicative of the actual benefits package that we have. The other thing is that, I realize that everything is subject to change, but I mean, when people are hired on, you're hired on with a benefits package and a salary. I mean, that's what's offered. And then when you start taking that away, you are taking away from people. I mean, that offer that you made, you are taking money away from people, period. We were all hired with that in mind. And I think you need to seriously consider it. It's not just about where you're at the market anyway, even though we're behind. You're taking away from people who you hired under that consideration. And, you talk a lot about how important the county employees are. And if you really feel like we're that important, do not take anything away from us. Find a way to make it work. Because we're all struggling. I'm trying to retain people. The sheriff's trying to retain people. And if you just take away and have these protracted conversations that revolve around small pieces like how much one individual pays for a premium or somebody's family, I feel like all those are just side conversations to the actual big picture. I think we need to look at the big picture. And the big picture is people were hired, they were given a benefits package and money, and everything that we're talking about takes away from that. And the other big picture is that we need to retain people, because if we don't retain people to work for the county, then we're going to have some serious issues. And there are costs that go along with that. And I realize that, y'all feel like you're having to make a decision at the last minute. All right.
Thank you, Juliet. John, identify yourself.
Yes, ma'am. My name is John Luther. I'm the emergency manager for the county. It's kind of unnerving to come up here every time and sit down with everybody looking at us. And I know you do have a hard job. That's been mentioned many times. But some of the things that I think we miss from time to time is the points that you make. You made a point, Ms. Ecke, that you want to help the employees and take care of the employees. And I believe that. Ms. Madison said we can spend our dollars caring for children, and that's a good way to spend them. But the sheriff's office has an employee that can't qualify to care for foster children. because they're below the poverty level is your employee. And you talk about raises and going toward our percentage of APRs and retirement, and I appreciate that because I do, like Mr. Cochran, think that if we put it on that side, over the years, it's a better benefit to the employee. And you say, each year that raise comes. Each year that raise doesn't come. So it's kind of a hypothetical, if you will. And I know that you would like to see that. You can't just, snap our fingers and make it happen. But when we talk about it, we say, well, if we put it into the salary side, over those 30 years, that will accumulate. But that raise has to happen. And so it's hard as the employee to go to IMWell and try to utilize the system and do what the county has tried to offer us to find out, well, we can't serve you in that capacity. We've been very fortunate in our family. We have a healthy family, except for myself.
Our 15 minutes is up.
I believe, I got a text from Ms. Beeks suggesting that we take a recess to try to reset the audio system.
Okay. I'm sorry, honey, our time is up, but I just want everyone to know, I know it's very difficult to come up here and make a presentation, but I just want all of you to know how much I appreciate you doing it, because I feel like all of you are speaking from the heart, and if you don't do that, we don't know how you're feeling. So thank you. We're going to take about a 5-minute break, and Karen's trying to work on the auto system, and then we'll be right back because we've got some very, very long debates coming up.